Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Tuesday, December 16th. It's my last week in the office before the Christmas break. We get 2 weeks off, which is going to be fun, but it's going to be a busy week just because Christmas is my busiest time of the year. We got a couple of the studio I work for has got a couple of movies coming out. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to the holidays. I'm basically done with my Christmas shopping. I got the bigger gifts out of the way. When I mean bigger gifts, the things I have to think about, like my great niece and great nephew, make sure I buy them the right toys. Um, my brother-in-law, I do buy him basketball cards, which I will share with you probably in the next video because only one of the cards has arrived so far. Um, Luckily I'm one of those families that some of my nieces and nephews they like gift cards, so that's just to drive over to CVS just to buy them some gift cards, uh, for Amazon or eBay or a Visa, whatever. So the hard part's over when it comes to Christmas. Got my mom's birthday coming up 1 week from tonight, or 1 week from the filming of this, which is the 15th. Mom's birthday's on the 22nd. She's going to be 91. We are going to a performance of The Nutcracker. And we're going to look at some Christmas lights. So definitely just wrapping up all the Christmas stuff. Uh, Hobby wise, I am finding, and I'll talk about it more in my next video because my next video is going to be a pickups video. But just throwing it out there for those of you that are done with your Christmas shopping and you find yourself still having money. There's some good deals going on out there, you guys. So we'll talk about that more in the next meeting, in the next meeting, in our next get together. Just because I've been finding some good stuff out there, basically for the cards I'm looking for. Today's theme, I wanted to talk a little bit about. We're going to make this an educational video today. I'm going to show you how I display my cards. I have a new camera, so I bought one of those harness cameras. Something that G's Mikey actually showed me one at a card show. One of those that you could wear the camera and you could flip through cards. I picked up one particularly for this video, just because I wanted to share some things with you guys, and I wanted to have my hands free. So I'm trying out the camera. It is far from perfect. So there are things you're going to look at and go, "Oh my God, what is this?" But I thought I'd give it a try. But in putting this video together, it kind of reminded me of uh, the theme that a lot of us who have been here a while, who have been on YouTube, or especially I shouldn't even say who have been on YouTube a while. More from those of us who have been collecting for a very long time is, you always hear it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Take your time, buy what you like. And in making my video, I realized, and I've heard other people say this in their videos, is how I'm going to show you my collection, parts of my collection. And I said this last week. I'm seeing a lot of these, my 50 best cards, my 100 best cards, which are incredible. Love watching those videos. But those cards took that particular collector years, perhaps decades, to collect. And in putting together the video, that all I'm doing is showing you how I display my collections. It's not really highlighting any cards, but in looking at this, it shows me how long it's took me to put my collection together. It's taken decades through different stages of my life, from childhood to teenager to college student to professional, junior professional, whatever you want to call it, entry level professional, to having some money, to being older, to now being vintage myself. It just shows you the different stages that you go through. And I've had different teachers. When I first started collecting cards, and I don't know if I ever tell you guys these things, but I love baseball. For some reason, baseball and being a Dodger fan, if God makes that selection the day you're born, that's what happened to me. And because I've loved those things all my life. I loved baseball and I've loved Dodgers as long as I can remember. And the thing was, when I first started collecting cards was because my brother, God rest his soul, and my cousin, they had baseball cards. And they had a lot of cards from like 1970, 1971, 1972. There were some late 60s cards flying around. But they were the original teachers, so to speak, of card collecting for me. And as I got a little bit older and bought cards on my own, I had classmates and teammates on my Little League team that bought cards. And this young man named Chris, in 1975, he was the first one that showed me how to buy a wax box. He bought an entire wax box. Cost him $3.60. No. Cost him $4.50. But he bought an entire wax box, and that was really cool. So I got to experience that for the first time. But when I got a little older, into my teens, early teens, met some friends. One of them who I'm still friends with, and they expanded my world. And then a couple of years after I met them, I would probably say one of my original mentors. His name was Wayne. He owned a local card store out here in the San Gabriel Valley, Southern California. And he taught me a lot about cards. I got to work at his card store and got to go to my card shows and met dealers. And from there, it just grew into the point where I am now. And I still enjoy learning to this point. I don't get to learn as much as I do now just because I'm a snobby old guy, but I still have my influences out there. I can listen to George Diamond Yard Sports Cards a lot. I can listen to Terry, TJ Mack, Vintage Cards and Nostalgia. I can listen to Baseball Collector Mike. He doesn't make videos as much as he used to, but Chuck, Northside guy, those guys, and there's others that I'm missing, so I apologize. I'm just shouting out a few, but there are still a few YouTubers that are able to teach me a few things there. A lot of the stuff that I am seeing, I'm not a big fan of, just because I could care less about the state of the hobby. But if we're talking about your actual collections, I could talk to you all day about your collection. So as I've noticed, as I have. I should have said also John Keating, that 70s show, just because I love what he does too with his collection. But those I've learned over the years, how to collect, and I kind of stick to my guns on what I want to get. But I've had teachers along the way, and now as I'm older, I've learned from people still, whether it's at a baseball card store, at a baseball card show, or even here on YouTube. And hopefully, in your case, those of you that are watching, maybe I've had a little bit of influence on you. I always appreciate the comments and the people that like to talk about collections, people that email me about their collections. And I just love collecting. And I've had some experiences, especially the past week, which I'm not going to share with you tonight, but I am going to share with you probably in about a week or two, that just really make me love collecting more than anything else in the world. And I think I was born a collector. My brother was born a collector, but he was born to collect record albums. I was taught, or I was brought up to collect baseball cards, and I'm really lucky for that. So anyways, I've talked long enough. All right, so I'm going to show you how I display my cards. There's different ways of doing it, and this is just the way it takes up this entire space, and in that front space out there. But it just shows you, it's not a card room video, but it's just a video of how I display my collection. All right, you guys, I'm rambling. It's been 9 minutes, 43 seconds. Let's look at some baseball cards. All right, so I'm going to show you the entrance to my card room. This isn't a card room video, and I'm not really going to highlight any cards. This is just me showing you how I display my cards. I probably display my cards, my collection, in the 5 or 6 different ways. Starting off with some of the bigger cards, I guess you want to say. They come in the front. The 3 cases in front of you, straight ahead, those are all Dodger cards dating back from 1888 to present day. And the 2 on the right, those are all Hall of Famers that didn't play for the Dodgers. And like I said, I'm not going to really stop and show you that because I actually am updating. I'm going to be updating this display case soon, like in the next few weeks. So I won't really highlight what I've got. I'll show that to you in a separate video. Then, here's my card room. And now I've left some stuff on my bed just for transparency, just to take out. You'll see those later in the video. This is my card room, and like I say, we're not going to really make this a card room video, but you've seen this before. I've got other videos that show that. But this is where my cards are stored. All right, so as we saw earlier, I put my cards in display cases. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe 8 display cases, so there's not room for all my graded cards. So if you're a card that's not on the display case, you come onto this Pinzani display case. It's a little different. It's more of a, just a holder, not a briefcase. I wouldn't call this a Pelican. And here's where I put my cards. So you see here, I just put them in order chronologically. You'll see some of my pre-war cards there. But this is where you go I won't say if you're not good enough to make the wall. It's more along the lines of, I just don't have room to put you all up. So, here we see, these are some 1955 golden stamps. Here's Tommy Lasorda. Just some Duke Snider. So some random cards will end up in here. Now, yeah, there are cards in here that eventually do get on the wall because I like to make changes. Let's see, what do we got here? We got some Morel Meats, some Topps Dodger cards. There's a Yaz rookie, Killebrew card, Frank Robinson, some more Morel Meats cards. But yeah, so here's where you end up. Here's where most of my cards lately have been ending up, is in this case. Eventually I'll run out of room. So you'll see some of my 70s guys, Carlton Fisk, Gary Carter rookie, Jim Rice rookie, Dennis Eckersley rookie, Fred Lynn card. So this is where the graded cards go that don't make it onto the wall. Now I cut away too early from the displays when I realized these are just baseball cards. So where do I put my other sports cards? In here. It's just this old PSA box that I picked up from a local card store. Here's where you get to see some of my football cards, my 49 Leaf, 50 Bowman, all these Rams. All my football cards are Rams cards, by the way, you guys. So I have some football cards in here. Let's see, what else do I have in here? Some more football, Tom Fears. Then we get to my Laker team set from the 1971 Topps. Jim McMullen, Jerry West, Chamberlain, Gail Goodrich. I don't own many basketball cards. Pat Riley. There's a Wilt Chamberlain card. Then I got some hockey cards. Marcel Dion, Luc Robitaille. These are all LA Kings cards. Rob Blake, all Hall of Famers, except for Drew Doughty. He'll get in there one day. This is Young Guns card. Then the only non-sports cards I own, and the only non-sports cards I will ever own, are the Beatles. Love the Beatles. And they're not in order though. That kind of upsets me. So there's John, there's Paul, there's George, and there's Ringo from the 1964 Topps Beatles color cards. So this is where my other non-baseball and non-sports cards end up going. All right, I'm doing this on purpose to show you the way my display case looks. So I know it's not like full screen, full HD, but it's easier to show off this way. Here's where here's where all my sets go. So you got at the very, very top, those are just miscellaneous hockey sets. But right where the cases are, you'll see like, 50 Bowman baseball, 53 Topps baseball, 57 Topps, 61 Topps, 63 Topps, 65. So you'll see them all right here. And the only way you make it onto this wall, the only way there's a binder on here is if the set is complete. So if you're not up here, something like 1966, 1967, 1964, the set's not complete. It's not coming up here. I only like to show my cards of sets that are complete. That's just my way of thinking. And let's go a deeper dive into one of these books. So let's take a look at one of these sets. I'm going to pull down this set up here, which you're not seeing on the camera, but I've just taken off 1965 Topps. So I've taken this off, and let's see here. I'll show you what I like to do. So there goes the set coming out. I buy these display cases from Binder Tech, these sleeves. So each notebook gets put in one of these Binder Tech sleeves. These things aren't cheap, so you can find an alternative. I absolutely recommend it. I'm one of those that once I find a method, I bought like several. I know it's expensive. I know it's not cheap. I just kept buying them because to keep it uniform. So here's a binder of my 1965 cards. I'm very bad at this. I need to, this will say 1965 Topps, but a lot of my binders aren't even labeled. And then I put the team photo of the team that won the World Series. So in 1965, the Dodgers won the World Series. So their team photo card gets put right there. And we won't go through all the cards, obviously, because you guys have seen these. But, I'll start off. My first page is always basically like a photo sleeve, a photo page. If it's 1 8x10 sheet, it's a 1 8x10 sheet. And then I put my cards in here, and then we just start going. I put my cards in numerical order, and I am trying to find, I should have written down a number. Wanted to show you what I do for my graded cards, because some of these cards I only own graded. I think if I get to card 100, no. All right, so we finally got to a point where I could show you a card that I bought graded and what I did with it. I don't like holes in my binders. So what I'll do, and I'm going to take this out actually, is show you this Sandy Koufax. This is not a card. This is not a card. So don't worry, it's paper. So yeah, see? So what I do is I photocopy the front, photocopy the back with my actual PSA certificate or PSA number so people know it's fake. And all I do is double-sided tape it to a junk wax card. In this case, it's an 84 Topps Rick Monday. Now, some of you might find that sacrilegious, me using up an old baseball card, but I think I probably have several hundred Rick Monday cards. But that is what I do for my display, or for my graded cards. When I put them in binders, what I do is I photocopy them. And then I just photocopy this as well and put it on. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what I do, and maybe it'll inspire you when you're putting together your sets. All right, next is where I put my large cards. Some cards aren't big enough for binders or boxes. So I bought this old crate that was meant for 45 record albums. Here's where I put some of my larger cards. Put some on these graded cards were displayed at one point, but once my mom came to move in I thought it was best to kind of put away some of the large cards just because I didn't want any trouble. So here's some of my Hassan Triple Folders cards. What else do we have here? Fatima Dodgers. Well, first we have the Topps teams from 1951. And then we have the Fatima Dodgers. Casey Stingle's in that card along with Zach Wheat. Some Maca double folders. Jake Dalbert, Napoleon Rucker. Just some great old cards. Lefty O'Doul from the W517 set. That's where I put my graded cards. So for now they're in here. Someday they'll go on display again, but for now they're stuck in here. But here's where so these folders or these dividers are for 45s, records. So I bought some of those and just made some labels. So here's where my 1920, well, these two I haven't made full dividers for yet, but some of my Redman cards. There's Billy Cox, a Bobby Doerr autograph. And here are my Cashin cards. Love this set. Kind of wish I owned them graded, but I could do that on my own if I ever chose to do that. So those are my Cashin cards. What else do I have here? That's a card from 1929-30 R315, Dazzy Vance. Ticketron Dodgers cards from 1971, Dick Allen, Walter Alston, Jim Brewer, Willie Davis, Steve Garvey. Just some of my large cards that I just like to look at. Some postcards. These don't technically don't count as cards from the 70s and the 80s. Ron Say, Steve Yeager, Bert Hooton, Tommy Lasorda, Steve Howe, rest in peace. Those are my postcards. Then I've got some of my, what is this? The 1967 Topps pinups. Boog Powell, Campy Campaneris, Brooks Robinson, Tommy Agee, Yastrzemski, the Mick, Frank Howard. Good looking set. I really like this set a lot. I think I bought this from Dean Sports Cards. Clemente, Willie Mays. Got a good deal on it. I was going to put them in folders or in binders. I got a little nervous though because the cards actually did come in top loaders, and I reached out to Eric, those back pages, and he said just keep them in the top loaders because these are kind of thin to take out. I got nervous taking them out would cause issues, so I ended up keeping them in top loaders. And then my last ones, this is a set from 1980. It was called the Topps Super Set. There's Bench, Mike Schmidt, Jim Palmer, Jim Rice, Reggie, Ron Guidry, Lee Mazzilli. It's about 60 cards. I remember owning these when I worked at my first baseball card store when I was like 15 years old. All right, so there is where I put my large cards, so to speak. Now, this thing I bought, God, it's going on 7 or 8 years ago that I bought this library case. And I bought this way before I even knew there were videos on YouTube. And then it was funny because when I started watching YouTube, I saw Mike Moynihan with The Beast. I saw John Wade Boggs fan with his library card display case. And I thought, wow, there are other people doing it just like, I'm doing it just like other people. So it was really neat to see. Now, this is actually 2 individual pieces as I get up. This is one case. This is the second case. In this library card cases or card cases, this is where I put all my Dodger cards. In other words, my Dodger cards that don't belong to a set. So in other words, let's say the 1957 Topps, I have my Dodger cards primarily devoted into a binder, but I will put what the duplicates I have in here. So let me see if I can, still learning to work this new camera, but let's take a look here. So what I'll do again, here is 1934 Goudey, and I'll show you some cards from there. But every card gets a penny sleeve. Then a penny sleeve ends up in a top loader. And I just go through here, batter up cards, Diamond Star cards, 35 Goudey. These are all Dodger cards, you guys. 39 play ball. Let's bring this out a little here. 39 play ball. 40 play ball. 41 play balls are on the display case. 41 double play. 41 Goudey. Can't stand this card, but I own it. Sometimes when you're buying team cards, you end up buying cards you don't like. 48 Bowman, Pete Reiser. And these were all my Dodger cards go. 49 Bowman. I didn't like these cards when I first bought them. Now I really love them. There's Pee Wee. And we go through, and here, you know, 50 Bowman, 51 Bowman. If we come down here, 54 Bowman, 54 Topps, 54 Bowman, 55 Golden Stamps. This just shows you how I did, you know, how I put my cards in here. In here, you'll see what I have cards from 1960 all the way up through early 1970s. So you get to see some of my cards there. See my 62s there, or on the right, you see my 67s, my 68s, 69s. It just gets kind of crazy. And then on the last one here on the upper right, what do? We've got, you can see some 73 Kellogg's, 73 Topps, 74 Topps, 74 Kellogg's. And this goes from the early 70s to what, like 1983. 79 Steve Garvey, Manny Mota. These are all my Dodger team cards, you guys. I have every set. With the exception of the 1952 Topps high numbers, I have every Topps set, 51 through present day. I even just got the 2025 Dodgers last week. I haven't shown those. I don't know if I will. Then I have some Bowman cards. I would like to say there's some late 80s, 90s. Now we're talking junk wax. I would like to say I probably have every Dodger team card from a major set. I won't go into like obscure sets from 1930 to present day. Here's some cards from the 2000s. And you just see where I put everything. Crazy stuff. And then finally we get to present day. 2021, some of the current Dodgers. I think there's Mookie right there. But so this is where all my Dodger cards come into. Like I said, each card gets a top loader, gets a penny sleeve, and ends up in this case. And I have run out of space in 2025. I've had to start putting my cards to 2025 and older in another area. All right, so if you guys know, I already showed you where I put my sets, but if you're a vintage card and you don't belong to a set, or I'm not building the set, they come into this large box here, 3,200 count box. This kind of reminds me of being a kid, and I like how I get to look at these cards, just, take them out, get to look at them and get the hands-on experience. I put penny sleeves on them, you guys. And, maybe someday I'll build sets from these. But for now, I've got a bunch of cards from the 50s and the 60s in here. And if you're in this box, if I don't have a set, that's interesting that I have this card, because I just realized that I literally just bought a graded version card of it. But Yeah, so if I'm not building the set, you come into this box. So, you know, we started 1951 right here with my Topps red backs cards, Topps blue back, and they all get dividers. 52 Topps, 54 Topps. These are just me showing you how I display my cards, not necessarily that the card, all my cards are special, because now we get up to 58, but it just shows you how I store my cards. Might give you some ideas. Every card gets a penny sleeve. So we're looking at some cards from 1964, but this is where I put my cards that are not in a set, or not in a set build, I should say. So there's another part of my display, or there's another part of my collection and how I display it. Continuing the theme of my graded cards, these two cases right here, we'll leave it like that. This is my 1941 play ball set. Like I said, I'm not going to really highlight the cards, but hopefully this just gives you a little taste right there. So the 72 card set fit perfectly into 2 display cases. And that's where the 41 play balls go. This one's brand new here. This is me with my 1961 Topps All-Star subset. And American League, or National League's on top. American League's on the bottom. And that's where that gets thrown out.
It's a beautiful day for a ball game.